After 42 years of cruel dictatorship, something in Libya had to change. Burning Green, a Mickey Grant film. Funding now at Indiegogo.com. igg.me/@/Burning
My name's Mickey Grant, and I'm the fellow that just made the video you saw. And I want to thank Nader and Nadia for inviting me to this event. They are the backbone of Think Creative, and they made this entire event possible. I want to introduce myself and what some of my background is, which includes graduating from SMU in 1971 in radio, TV, and film, and that makes me a really old guy. When I got out of SMU, I worked as an assistant cameraman, which means I loaded magazines, and then became a cameraman. And this is 16 millimeter, 35 millimeter film. And in about 1981, I got a great job running a large production company. This is television, called Continental Productions. And we did lots of network events like Southwest Conference football and basketball, international tennis events, Don King boxing. And I did that for several years, and during the time I did that, I went to UNT to get my master's degree. It was called NTSU at the time, in radio, actually in film criticism. And I was an adjunct professor. I love teaching. And I made a major decision in 1984. I got offered a job to direct a feature-length documentary. The budget was about $500,000. This is a really big documentary. And it was called China Run. It was the story of a man from Kentucky running over 2,000 miles across China.
After the People's Republic of China was reopened to foreigners, the son of a Kentucky sharecropper began a projected run of more than 2,000 miles. He would attempt to run about 40 miles a day for 53 consecutive days across some of the most mysterious and foreboding lands on Earth.
I think this American runner's a fool, a real stupid egg if you ask me. He's already run 3,000 kilometers and he is actually killing himself physically. What will happen to him if he gets hurt or sick or if he gets run down by a car on the way? The whole thing is crazy.
Yes, he's a big fool. It really doesn't matter if he runs or not. Who cares?
No, I disagree. I think he's a man of iron will. I'd like to grow up like him, to become a great scientist or athlete, and bring honor to my own country.
Did he go to school? Did he go to a dental school?
你受过专门训练没有？进过学校没有？
没有经过学校，是祖传来。
Oh, he learns it from his family.
Learned it from his family.
你的父亲、你的祖父都做这个。
How is everybody in Beijing?
Thank you.
Yes.
A superstar on this trip is Mr. Wong. This gentleman is fabulous. He doesn't know the first word of English, but yet he feels for me. He understands me.
I don't understand him. When he's happy, he calls everybody old friend. Old friend Stan, old friend Mickey, old friend Lao Wang.
Mr. Wong.
I think the doctor just showed up here.
If something happens to me from that shot, I will haunt you.
As he moved into the fabled solitudes of interior China, what began as an ultra-marathon became a strange trial that would challenge not only his body, but his mind and his spirit. He would experience pain few have felt, yet out of this pain would come understanding and love. The adventure of a lifetime. China Run.
Well, after completing that film and it playing in 50 cities and theaters, and then HBO purchased it, it ran on Cinemax and HBO, I pretty much was done with management running a production company. I decided, good or bad, to start making feature-length documentaries. My next project was one where a British couple that eventually became friends of mine rode the Great Wall. It was called Ride the Great Wall, and it was on PBS. I just recently, I say recently at my age, 5 years ago, did a film where they rode across the mountains of Albania. At a point working in China, I speak Mandarin Chinese. It became very expensive to make films there, so I decided to do a project I'd wanted to do a large amount of my life called the Cu Chi Tunnels, the story of the Vietnamese during the war. And I worked for well over 3 years. I interviewed many former guerrillas and rebuilt the tunnels they lived in on a set in Ho Chi Minh City. And this film was successful in that BBC Worldwide distributed it. It aired just about everywhere. I'll skip lots of other projects and move forward to why I'm here today. 2003, I was in Kenya, and I decided to do a film about another reason why HIV gets spread, which is nosocomial. It's infections that you get in hospitals and in the medical system. And I was mainly looking at syringes, reuse of syringes, and reuse of IV equipment. I went to the ICASA AIDS conference in 2003 in Kenya, and I did a lot of interviews, but one of the factors I determined was I needed to pick a case study. And I picked, I had the choice of either Lista, Russia, or Benghazi, Libya, and I chose Benghazi, thank goodness. And Benghazi had gained a lot of attention because these Bulgarian nurses, 5 of them, and a Palestinian doctor, had been sentenced to death twice. And it was supposed to be a conspiracy of the CIA, and it was a plot to kill Arab children. Well, I figured it might be the reuse of syringes. Not an easy project to do. And I spent a long time on it. I made my first trip to Libya and presented a proposal to Colonel Gaddafi via the Gaddafi Foundation that he become the champion of safe health care. The moment I did that, it became horrible. They treated me bad, they ignored me, then they treated me, threw me out of a car basically. And I left Libya with tremendous concern. Why would they do that when I was presenting something that was, I think, a really good PR move? Well, as time went on, I started investigating, and I knew I needed to find medical workers that had worked in the children's hospital who could tell me, did they use syringes again?
Аз съм посещавала нейната болница, туберкулозната болница, която е в Бенгази. И имам впечатление, че болницата наистина беше страхотно мръсна, страхотно неуредена и определено трудно се работеше. На няколко пъти съм я посещавала. Казвала ми е, че се употребяват спринцовки, които не са така добре дезинфекцирани, както би трябвало да бъде навсякъде по целия свят и в Европа, както и в нашата държава. И че на много пъти е правило впечатление.
Well, the fact that likely they use syringes again, the question becomes, what happened to, there were enormous amount of medical supplies during the trade embargo donated to Libya. What happened to them? Is it possible that the colonel sold them or sold them on the black market or gave them to other countries? What could have happened? Well, I became very interested in meeting the Libyan opposition, and I tried to meet them in the U.S., and through no fault of theirs, I wasn't able to, and I ended up between two projects being in London, and I contacted the Libyan newspapers there and said, you know, I'm looking for somebody to talk to. Suddenly, two Libyans showed up at my hotel who knew whether this could be true or not.
Gaddafi has never allowed any syringes nor medicine to all the hospitals, and especially Benghazi.
Let me make sure I get this straight. The nurses worked at the hospital there. They say there were no syringes. So you're saying that Gaddafi stopped syringes from coming to Libya?
That's right.
Yeah, I think Gaddafi, during his 36 years of ruling, have done a lot of crimes against humanity, against Europeans, against Americans. He even have his fingerprints on some unsolved cases in Africa and Latin America. Gaddafi will do anything possible to put away any blame that could have been put back to him.
You ever have fear?
Yeah, of course, Gaddafi has a history with that. Gaddafi did assassinate about 15 people during the 1981-82 in Rome and Bonn and in London and in Athens. So we always fearful about Gaddafi and his tactics. Gaddafi supported all the way the November 17, the Greek terrorist organization, the Basque terrorist organization, the IRA, and he even supported some radical movement and groups in Latin America. And he was responsible for the killing of number of unsolved cases that Libya nor the Libyans have any issue what to do with it.
Injection opened at the Angelica Theater in Dallas, and then it played at the Inwood Theater, and I had a great stroke of luck one night. A TV station in Bulgaria called me and wanted to buy the film. I wasn't very awake, and I said, well, listen, I'll give you the film if you will show it for 24 hours continuously, over and over and over. Well, they said, no, we're a broadcast station. We have commercials. We have shows we have to run. 2 hours later, they called me and they said, we want to do it. And what is interesting about this is that it turned out the owner was a Greek satellite channel, and they uplinked injection. And it turned out this satellite channel was very popular all across the Mediterranean countries. And it showed in Libya. It showed for 24 hours a day in Libya. I found out that the Libyan government found out about this, and I even got an email that Gaddafi was aware of it. Well, when the war broke out in Tunisia, I figured it's going to happen in Libya. There had been a protest about real estate prices and whatnot, and so I started watching it nonstop. I had Skyped every Libyan on Skype with a link to injection and continually supplied material. Not only that, the Libyan opposition in England, I believe these particular ones were located in Manchester, they showed my film. This is starting in like 2007. And so there was a lot of awareness about my film blaming Gaddafi for the AIDS outbreak. Well, it happened. And my Skype never stopped. My emails went up to over 1,000 an hour. I had to get stories out. So I contacted a friend of mine who had former news director at Channel 8 and also he'd worked for ABC, Bob Morrison, to help me.
I'm creating broadcastnewssource.com about that time, and I needed some help. I needed some. Here I had this sort of coverage of Libya from a guy who knew all about Libya, and had these deep contacts. So I said, "Hey, Mickey, let's talk to each other about." And he tells me about this pipeline that's going to blow, and that these rebels may blow this pipeline, oil pipeline. And I said, "Let's talk about it, but we need two sources." And so Mickey jumped onto that right away.
The fiance of a Libyan doctor, she lived in Bulgaria, I believe. She contacted me in the first week of the war, and she told me that there was a tremendous shortage of medical supplies. Gaddafi was raiding clinics. He was killing not only the doctors, but all the patients. This is troops that worked for him. And it was a very, very serious situation. She indicated which medical supplies he needed. I'd asked about that. And so I decided I'd try to bring medical supplies to Libya. And I managed to do so with a lot of help. It was amazing how many people helped me. It was primarily through Facebook. One of the people that came through was a man named Murad. And I was hearing all these stories about who are these rebels. Hillary Clinton asked this. And knowing the rebels that I'd met earlier, back starting in 2006, many of you in the room were doing this since the early 80s. It would seem apparent that everyone knew who they were, who you are. And so I talked to Murad some. A lot of people think that the replacement for Gaddafi will be another Gaddafi. And they call him Sergeant Gaddafi.
No way, no way. Libya, we started, this is the road we took. It's a one-way road, a road for liberation, for democracy, for a constitution. We've been living for 42 years without a constitution. So what we are doing right now, we are going towards freedom, towards liberty, towards justice, fairness. We had enough. Enough is enough from this regime.
Gaddafi keeps trying to say that it's Al-Qaeda and drugs. How do you respond to that?
All of this is a lie. It's a makeup from the Gaddafi. He wants his own people, like Libyan public, to look ugly in front of the world. Libyan people, they are a middle people. We don't have any extremists. We don't have. Maybe like 0.5% or something. But the majority of Libyans, they are normal people.
I wish I was able to show a completed film today. That's what I'm trying to do. When I got back from my third trip to Libya, my mother was in critical condition very shortly after that, and I spent the next approximately 1 year, a little over a year, taking care of her until she died. In some ways, the delay in finishing the film is a godsend, mainly because what's happening today, there's a lot of people that want to destroy what the Libyan rebels want. And that's what I'm attempting to do in many ways with the film. The first part of the film looks at who the rebels were. The second part of the film deals with history of the war. It's rebels telling stories from the war. It's historians discussing the strategy, everything that occurred. And the final part of the film, like I was just trying to indicate, is what's happening today. The people who are trying to destroy it. It deals with the folks who attacked the U.S. consulate and also attacked the school teacher recently and killed him. The rebel, that I don't even call those people militants or a rebel group. To me, they're thugs. And I'm attempting, on the return trip, to interview some of them. If I can't, I'll interview people who have a great deal of knowledge about them. My goal is to end the film on a very positive note. What is absolutely amazing is that there was an Airbus deal. 7 Airbuses purchased recently by Libyan Airlines. 7 Airbuses. That takes faith. You know, there's a lot of people who strongly believe in the Libyan rebels and the Libyan, what has resulted in the current Libyan government. And this is what I want to stress. The film will end on interview after interview with people on the street talking about how much faith they have in the Libyan revolution. And I hope that faith, transfers to the audience of this film. Thank you.